Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself. All right, today. This is just I was thinking what kind of video to do today, and because as you know, I like to post on Wednesdays, and of course, every Saturday we have Hogely. And I was thinking what to discuss today, and this is almost kind of like a piece to camera and stuff like that. It's going to be quite straightforward, and it's kind of linked with just thoughts that I've been having in terms of about the planets, about the planets, but the outer planets in particular and how they influence us and society. So I want to talk a little bit about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And of course, before I forget as well, if you enjoy my content, I really appreciate you supporting the channel. So if you'd like to like and subscribe and click the bell notification, that would be great. And of course as well, if anyone would like a consultation with me, I always keep forgetting to say, if anyone would like a consultation with me, then of course you can visit my website at the the archetypalblueprint.com. That's what will come up, but it's actually Hogarth Global Astrology. So I'll drop that in somewhere up here. And in many ways, this is the third installment of what I was sort of like talking about before in terms of the retrogrades and stuff like that coming up. So just to recap, around about from the 4th to the 5th of September 2023, we're going to have 6 planets retrograde. 6, yes. Those planets are going to be Pluto, who's already retrograde. It is going to be Neptune, who's already retrograde. We have Saturn retrograde. We are going to have Jupiter retrograde. Where also as well as Uranus is going to be retrograde, and so is Mercury. So is Mercury. So we're going to have Mercury retrograde as well. So that's 6 planets bona fide on the 5th of September. That will be retrograde. However, Venus would have stopped her retrograde motion on the 4th of September, but is basically still standing still, not going anywhere. So she's not even going to be moving. So you can count that as 7. And then the sun and the moon, they're always direct, so they don't count. The nodes of the moon are always retrograde, so there's that. So it turns out the only planet that is going to be moving direct in any meaningful kind of way will be Mars, planet of war, conflict, and all of this stuff. And he's going to be going direct in sidereal Virgo. And Virgo deals with health and healing and overcoming obstacles and stuff like that. So what does that mean? I mean, we could have news about some new thing, some new disease, that's going to come out and take over the world and all of this kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's not relevant, but, we'll hear stories like this. In fact, actually, it's already happening already. You may have seen, it may not have for my American and Canadian audiences, it may not have shown, but there's this bug that they're worried about, which is spreading rampantly, across Europe and stuff like that. And it's called, what is it called? Hemorrhaging something fever or whatnot. And basically it's caused by a tick. It's caused by a tick. And it's not large numbers. Sadly, some people have died, yes. 3 or 4 here, 3 or 4 there, etc. But it's not like what, the kind of thing that we had before. It's difficult, of course, if you get it and all of that kind of stuff. But a lot of hoo-ha is being made about this. And I'm not saying it's not relevant, but basically, if you avoid swamps, long grass, and make sure your meat is well cooked, you're probably going to be fine. That's where ticks live. They live in grassy lands and stuff like that. And they're saying because of climate change, this is going to start progression and stuff like that. But I don't think there's going to be any ticks swimming over the channel from France to the UK anytime soon, unless somehow someone's brought them there on their shoes. And even then, the tick still needs to be an environment to live in. So I don't want to overemphasize that, underemphasize it, or belittle it, or whatever. But what I'm going to say is this: expect stories to emerge or things to come out in the news in regards to health and healing, and previous narratives around that subject changing. It's already happening already. You've already seen it for yourselves. As you know, what I love about people that watch my channel, you know, they're grown-ups. Yeah, you're grown-ups. Yeah, you can perceive. And many of you, let me know in the comments, have you perceived how narratives have changed? You know, just like I was saying, and they will continue to change as well. So when Mars starts traversing the sign of sidereal Virgo, which is technically an enemy sign for Mars, and the timing of Mars going through Virgo is very, very significant, and that will emerge more with time. I'm not going to go into the details or whatever, because there's still a lot of people out there that love to slander others, shall we say, when they speak truths that are inconvenient to narratives. Yeah, let's just put it that way. So there will be news about things like that. And what I want to say is, we as a human race, we need to get ready. Yeah, we need to get ready for stuff. We need to start getting real. We need to collectively understand that which is going on, and we need to start joining the dots. Certain people won't believe things until such and such on such and such person on MSNBC or the BBC or, you know, whatever mainstream media says, oh, by the way, this is how this is, blah, blah, blah. We're in a different paradigm now. We're entering this new age. Everyone talks about the age of Aquarius, which isn't quite here yet, but the way I describe it is like this. It's like we are seeing the sunrise before the sun pops over the horizon. You know what it's like with sunrise, isn't it? Before the sun, it's not just black and then the sun, boom, you know. No, it's not like that. It's dark and then it gets gradually lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. That's what it's like with the age of Aquarius that's coming. We're beginning to see the dawn of it. But as with any new age that comes, the age prior to it needs to break down. It needs to be broken down and removed. And one of the planets that actually does that process, as it were, although it can be very unpleasant, is Pluto. Yeah, Pluto. Pluto changed signs on the 1st of January 2021. Yeah, went from sidereal Sagittarius into sidereal Capricorn, and we all know what happened 5 days later. Yeah, we had January the 6th. And that's what it's like with planets. They are what I refer to as declamatory. They're declamatory. When their bodies move into new energies, they often announce that things happen. So we had the same with Saturn this year when he moved into sidereal Aquarius. I said there'd be things in the news to do with, I'm repeating myself, but for anyone that's not heard it, you know, I said there'd be things in the news to do with the sky, do with space, technology, governments, this, that, and the other, all sorts of accountability coming, etc. What did we have a few days after Saturn moved? It seems like an age ago now, doesn't it? When Saturn moved into sidereal Aquarius, we had things to do with the Chinese space balloon, all of the hoo-ha around that, and we've had countless stories now about UFOs, extraterrestrials, and all that kind of stuff. Very Aquarian. Yeah, Aquarius deals with outer space as well, the sky, science, technology. Everything is moving. We're now getting the cryptocurrency thing. Now, the crypto, of course, everyone knows about Bitcoin. But I said when certain planets move, when Saturn moves into sidereal Aquarius, I said governments are going to start adopting these kind of things, and they are. Yeah, lots of talk. There's, you know, certain forums talking about a global cryptocurrency. But for those that may not know already, the BRIC nations will soon be launching their own cryptocurrency. Yeah, so what are the BRIC nations? It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah. And one of the things that they're proposing is that there will be a new currency, and it will be attached to things like the price of gold and oil and stuff like that. And it will be a rival to the dollar. Yeah, it will be a rival to the dollar. Please look back through my playlist when you go on my channel and look for that video. I'll see if I can post it up in the end parts when this video comes to an end. But I talk specifically about the dollar versus the yuan. Yeah, maybe the yuan becoming the global reserve currency, but it looks like maybe they're going to be going for it on the BRICS. Now, I think there's going to be some announcement in August at some point. I don't think it's going to be launching then. Some sources have said it's going to be launching then. It doesn't look like that. They're going to be a bit more cautious. I think it's going to be an announcement of more details to come, as it were. But this is a thing. This is real. They're not going to be talking about a lot of these things on mainstream media, unfortunately. Well, at least not on American news, because of course it's all about who, you know who, Declamatory, yeah, and the trial and all that kind of stuff, which of course is relevant. But as you know, I come from an astrological perspective. I try and take a helicopter view, yeah. And in my opinion, this is all being dragged out a little bit, in my opinion. Obviously, people may think differently, but from what I understood, it was going to be a speedy trial. Now it's going to be, delayed till December. And now, of course, Declamatory is saying, well, I can't possibly have a fair trial. It needs to happen after the presidential elections. Yeah. So again, we see all this delay. Look, I'm not going to blame people or anything like that. But I'm just reporting on what we now know to be the facts. Yeah. There was a date set in August, believe it or not, from Madame Cannon, of all people. And that's now been delayed, from what I'm aware of, until December. And from what I understand, Declamatory is trying to delay it yet further. Yeah, we all know this person, whatever you think about him, whether a person is a Trump fan or not or whatever, we all know he should be behind bars. People have served time for having just one sheet, yeah, one classified document, let alone tons of documents piled up to the ceilings. We've seen it. He's admitted to it, yeah. For me, it's starting to. There was always that element of farce and pantomime to it all, but for me, it's just getting absolutely ridiculous now. It's like, come on, like really. Boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes, and people trying to explain stuff away and all this delay and stuff. Just lock the guy up, yeah, just, whatever. Anyway, that's not really what this is about. What I want to talk about is in terms of, with these energies, with all these retrograde energies coming up, this is going to be a big review, revise, reassess of almost everything, because you can't have 6 planets going retrograde, one standing still, and basically the only planet going direct is Mars, yeah, planet of war and conflict and stuff like that. I mean, it could be great for sport, who knows, but transiting Virgo, which is technically an enemy sign for him, you can't have all of that going on and everything be hunky-dory. It's just impossible. So for me, the way I'm seeing this is some kind of global reset that's on the way. Could it be some kind of global recession or something like that? Because that would be, a sense of something going backwards. Again, I don't want to spook people, but there's a lot going on. Venus, Mercury, and Saturn are all planets of finance. And so is Jupiter. Jupiter and Saturn actually deal with the economy. And very often when they go retrograde, now look, they go retrograde pretty often. But Saturn and Jupiter going retrograde is one thing, but Saturn and Jupiter going retrograde while at the same time at Mercury, Venus, and all of that kind of stuff, it does speak a lot to things potentially to do with the economy as well and how that's going. I've said in previous videos on the last Hogeli as well, I said when Mars is debilitated going through the sign of Cancer, which he was a few weeks ago, I said there's going to be news about real estate, something going on with the real estate market and stuff like that. And I said on Hogely last week, but for those that didn't hear it, the Young Turks did a very good report talking about how the bottom is kind of falling out of Airbnb in America overall, yeah. And they were talking about the housing shortage, etc. There's a want, there's a desire or a need to build almost 5 million new homes in America for people to live in. But what they revealed is that there is a huge amount of housing that is either under-occupied or not occupied at all because they are buy-to-let properties or Airbnb and whatever. Look, this is not to criticize anyone that's got a buy-to-let property or what have you. But of course, there have to be checks and balances. And with all of these planets going what? Retrograde, review, revise, reassess. It turns out there's about 12 million properties either under-occupied or empty. So that's easy math. That's easy math. That means that you know, like, because I think Young Turks said it was 4.2 million or there's houses needed, something like that. But there was a 4 million in there, and 4 goes into 12, what, 3 times? Yeah, so it means there's more than enough housing. And what the sense I get is that just globally as humanity, we're going to have to start reviewing, revising, reassessing everything. Reassessing absolutely everything, especially what's happened over the last 3 years. Yeah, the last 3 years or so. Think about it. How much actual reflection and reassessment has actually happened or been allowed to happen about that time? Think about it. Think of everyone that was lost and everything that happened, all of the infarctions and the rules and the regulations and all the liberties that were lost, all of the transfer of wealth. Yeah, one of the biggest transfers of wealth ever, folks. Yeah, in history, more billionaires were created during the pandemic than any other time in history. I think at one stage it was like something like 50 a week or something like that. And that needs to be reflected on, yeah? That needs to be reviewed, revised, reassessed. Things are changing in the global economy. Countries are starting to make different decisions. The US petrodollar is no longer the darling it once was, yeah? Everything changes. People always think that everything stays the same, but it doesn't. Yeah, think of the 3 constants in life. Like they say, what is it? Death, taxes, yeah, and change. Yeah, death, taxes, and change. But also we have to put creativity there as well. Birth and creativity are also there. So something new is birthing as well. Yeah, because all of these planets are going retrograde. So it means that there's a pause, there's a reflection, there's a reset of some kind. So could there be some kind of global reset in terms of the economy and stuff like that? I think quite likely. I've said for a while that the global economy in terms of money and finance will change when Uranus moves from sidereal Aries, which is in now around about 27 degrees, something like that when moves change, and when he moves into sidereal Taurus, which deals with money, banking and finance. Now, I actually misremembered, I don't know if I've said it recently, but I thought he moved into sidereal Taurus in 2025. Oh, no. When I double checked, because I just needed to check a fact on something and research that I've been doing for the book and all that kind of stuff, he actually moves in on the 2nd of June or thereabouts 2024. This time next year. We're in July now. In fact, what's the date today? 11th of July. 11th of July. I don't even know what time it is. It's around about 11-ish, something like that, in my UK time. So we'll see how long it takes for me to get this video up. So those changes are coming, and I will guarantee, this is virtually nailed on, global currencies will change when Uranus moves into sidereal Taurus. It's already happening. It's already been announced in many ways, but This is when we're going to see it at the government level. Yeah, at the government level. That's where we're going to see it. And everyone's going to have to adapt. And again, that also speaks as well about reviews, revise, reassess. There could be more issues with banking, stuff like that. Again, all these planets retrograde. I don't think that whole deal is quite settled quite yet, because of course global interest rates have gone up. And if you guys were wondering how the UK economy is doing, rubbish. Yeah, that's the long short of it. Rubbish. Yeah. The folly, the folly, the folly, the folly, the folly. The folly of the bit of the B word. They've done a survey recently, and most people in the UK think the old B, the old Brexit was a mistake. Yeah, it was a mistake. Of course it was. It was never going to work in the first place. Now look, I'm not saying that Europe is perfect. It isn't, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. But let me tell you, when there are times when a nation or a person is going through tumultuous times of change, it's better to have a bit of money in your pocket, isn't it? We're going to be facing all of these changes, global this, global that. With almost no money in the coffers. Yeah, we've been losing billions. Yeah, the UK economy has been losing billions. And even one of the main architects of that, as I've mentioned before, certain Nigel Farage, has even admitted that himself. And recently he's had his bank accounts closed down. I'm sure you guys will know about this. And you know what? On reflection, that's very difficult. That's very difficult. It does set a rather dark precedent. And I write about it. And he and his ilk have done a tremendous disservice and damage to the UK economy. They really have. And for him to blithely admit, after the wrecking ball has been half destroyed the building, and we'll have to see where the UK economy goes going forward. But I don't really see where the growth is coming from now. It's really going to take a Houdini trick unless we were to go back in. And we are in times of karma. We're in times of karma. Saturn is the planet of karma. Saturn's retrograde. When a planet goes retrograde, it's technically closer to the Earth, therefore more powerful. So Saturn, the planet of karma, is more powerful, and we're seeing all kinds of comeuppance, yeah? Even for Duck Larange and stuff, even though there's these delays and whatever, nonetheless, accountability has started to arrive for him. And of course, there is that karmic situation for Farage. However, what I'll say is this. And they've had people on TV who've gone through this experience as well of having their bank accounts closed. And all of them have made a very good point. When you live in a digital world, and we have to pay for things with our cards, transactions, and this, that, and the other. Of course, cash is still important, but gosh, how many of us still carry around cash? And I'm not anti-cash, by the way. I think, you need both. But what those people have said is, and I think it's a very valid point, without a bank account, modern life is impossible. Impossible. And in a way, it's kind of harsh. No. I won't say that. What I will say is, people in prison still have bank accounts. Yeah. So when you leave, as long as you're a good boy or girl, whatever, you should be able to carry on with your life and what have you, one would hope. Assuming that what one has done is not too bad. But, you have your bank account and you can go on. How do you live without a bank account in this day and age? Unless you're literally a person of native origin that can literally live off the land, or you're self-sufficient, maybe you're a farmer and you have all that you need. You've got water, you've got shelter, you've got food, etc. But aside from those scenarios, which are very rare and very extreme, all I'm going to say is, and I just want all of us to think together in terms of where things are going digitally, where your access to banking can be switched off. And just think about what that world is like if you happen to be the one that is the recipient of that kind of thing. Makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you think. How do we function today in the modern world without a bank account? And it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. And this what got me reflecting, because as you guys know, I'm writing an astrology book. Nearly finished, by the way. I did more on the chapter to so I've finished Uranus now, and now I'm on Neptune, and then it's going to be Pluto, and then after Pluto, the last chapter will be the nodes of the moon, Rahu and Ketu. But as I've been researching and looking and really delving deep into the outer planets, which are so significant right now, to the extent where I really do believe we are in the age of the outer planets. Yeah? Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And I've gone as far to call them the three wizards. Yeah, all planets are wizards, really, but these guys, they're real wizards. Uranus, I've broadly called, I can't remember what I put in the chapter headings a bit more, but he is essentially the wizard of technology. Yeah, the wizard of technology. And I did some in-depth research as part of a thing for the book about the Industrial Revolution, when it began, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. And I also looked at Benjamin Franklin's chart as well. Those of you who have membership, you would have already seen the video that I did for Benjamin Franklin, and I might release it at some point. You know, visionary and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. Not perfect, you know, he does have a bit of a history, shall we say, but I've left that for the book. But the point is that planet Uranus has been instrumental for the modern world. Instrumental. From the, as we understand it now, literally Uranus is the planet of the Industrial Revolution, or revolutions. And now we're about to enter into the fourth Industrial Revolution. And this, of course, deals with AI, automation, cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. We're almost on the cusp of it there. And in this review, revise, reassess time, I think this is a time in humanity where we really need to review and revise and reassess how we are going to function in a world with AI going forward. Yeah. Being a human being is not easy at the best of times. Yeah. As we know. But one of the things that we as humans need to do, and that is also part of the joy of life, is eat. Yeah. Sleep, yeah, reproduce for those that wish to reproduce, or if who can reproduce, arts, culture, etc., all of this stuff. There's even conflict and war and all of this kind of stuff, which is all part of it. The thing is with AI is this: AI doesn't have to sleep, it doesn't have to eat, and it doesn't need to pee or poop. Yeah, it doesn't have to sleep. And in terms of reproduction, doesn't have to wait 9 months for a baby to come. Yeah. If it gets into production lines and stuff like that and finds ways to clone itself or whatever, it could just reproduce itself in a matter of hours, if not minutes, when it comes to non-physical forms. Yeah. And I think we as humanity, part of this, all of these planets going retrograde, I think is giving us all of an option to be like, wait a minute. Maybe we need to review, revise, reassess all of this kind of stuff going on. Now, look, I'm not a Luddite, you know, which is a word used to describe the people that used to go in and they used to trash the cotton ginnies, yeah? Or the cotton, whatever, you know, where they, with the looms, and it was all automated and stuff like that. When those cotton factories started as part of that industrial revolution, because we started to get mechanized labor. Yeah, again, all in the 18th century and all that kind of stuff. And they would go in and they would destroy all these things and this, that, and the other. And of course, it didn't work. Yeah, because people liked having their products and services faster, more efficient, all that stuff. It's like when we think of Amazon, for example, yeah? And, we know that the Amazon workers, aren't treated well, etc. And there's part of us that might feel bad about that. But we still use Amazon anyway. Why? Because it's so extraordinarily convenient and fast and quick. Now, particularly, yeah, it's just astonishing. Sometimes I say to myself, I'm going to go out to the shop to find that thing that I want, rather than ordering it online. And you know what? I spend half a day going to this place, that place, that place, and they don't have it. And I do that click, Amazon Prime, and sometimes I even forget about it, and it arrives the next day. The next day. Sometimes it's less, not even sometimes, quite a lot of the time, it's less than 24 hours. Do you know what I mean? So I click something in the day and it arrives the following morning. Yeah, so 24 hours haven't even passed. That is how fast the world is now, and this is how much more it's going to speed up. And we're going to be given lots of options on a lot of things. But one of the things with Uranus is that part of his energy was his castration by Saturn, his son, Kronos, yeah? Back in the day, Uranus, Kronos. We now call Uranus and Saturn, yeah? So basically, Saturn, on the behest of his mother Gaia, got daddy's bits, cut them off, yeah? And threw them into the sea, yeah? This is why if we look here, this is the glyph of Saturn. It's actually a scythe, yeah? For harvesting. If you look at that, that's actually Ceres, yeah, which is the Roman name for the goddess Demeter, who is also the goddess of fertility, harvest, etc., and stuff like that. So my point is that advance tends to come with wounds. Uranus always gives a wound somewhere. That's why wherever Uranus is in the chart, and we all have Uranus somewhere, there can often be sudden shocks and surprises connected with that planet, but also liberation and breakthrough. Saturn, of course, is the planet of restraint, rules, regulations, discipline, going slow, government, yeah? So government is always trying to find ways to what? Constrain or impose rule. Not all governments, but, think of what happened, yeah, in 2020. Think about what happened at that time. Billions of people, literally billions of people made to stay at home. That's never ever happened in the history of humanity ever. Not like that, and not in a globally consensus kind of way either. I mean, it was extraordinary. For many people, it was absolute hell. For me, it gave me a chance to reset and actually recalibrate and start my channel and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. For a lot of people, it was exceptionally difficult. And a lot of people not only lost their lives and stuff, as we know, they lost their livelihoods as well. And I feel collectively we've not really been allowed to reflect on that. Let me know what your thoughts in the comments. But I really genuinely believe we've not been given time to reflect properly and even grieve for what happened and how strange and weird and unusual it all was. I saw this coming in 2019, by the way. I wasn't a YouTuber at that point, but you can speak to my friends who used to work with me at King's Place. And I said to all of them, I said, listen, if you thought 2019 was crazy, I said 2020 is going to be absolutely batshit. Yeah. I said to them to get second or third jobs, to earn as much money as they could, save as much as they could, because I could see a configuration. I said, I can't say exactly what's going to happen, but it's going to be extremely weird and strange. It will never have happened before in human history. And I said, the average 9 to 5 day job will go out the window. And that's exactly, obviously lots has happened, but that is basically what's happened. We've got tons of empty office space now. And what I find really interesting is everyone's scratching their head and like, what are we going to do with all this empty office space? Let's all play pickleball, yeah? How about that gets turned into some housing which is desperately needed, yeah, for so many people around the world? And at some point we have to start asking questions, not only what happens, but what doesn't happen. The things that don't happen, which are logical to happen. And the situation with the real estate, I think, is a prime example. We've got desperate need, so much homelessness and stuff like that, especially in, not only in America, obviously, many places around the world. UK, is not great either. But I would say in America, it has reached extraordinary levels now, and I think almost anyone watching this will agree. Millions, literally millions of people are living in their cars. Yet there's 12 million unoccupied properties, and now there's a whole ton of prime real estate office space that's no longer commercially viable because Uranus, technology, everyone's working remotely. Zoom and all this, that, and the other. Not absolutely everyone, but not everyone has returned. Not everyone wants to return. People's lives have now permanently changed because after 3 years of being constrained, then people are just like, well, actually, wait a minute. Now the office comes to me. I don't need to go to the office. And there are a lot in industry that are trying to get everyone back, but too late. Too late. There's consequences, for things like that. Millions of people not being able to commute and do all of that kind of stuff. And it's changed demographics because, of course, people used to go into town and they used to, get their lunches or their whatever at the local bars, restaurant, etc. People go out for drinks after work, which again was all local. Half of that business has not come back. What do those shops do? What happens with that office space? There's my suggestion. Literally you can put people in there, convert it, and then you'll have thriving hubs again. But you see, there doesn't seem to be a desire for that because it's like that everyone's still chasing the profit, chasing the monies, when the whole system in many ways has changed. And I think this is what this big reset in many ways is about with all of these planets retrograde. I think what's going to happen is we're going to start having more and more honest conversations. In fact, it's already happening. And certain decision makers, shall we say, in the mainstream media are actually starting to be faced with rather difficult questions now. Because when you no longer serve the interests of the average person, and when so many diktats are either coming from government or, shall we say, private interests, shall we say, which is a clearly evident thing, sponsors of channels, donors, etc., all of this kind of stuff, guess what starts to happen? People start to switch off from that, and they start to watch people like us, not that I've got millions of subscribers or whatever, that's not the point. The point is people need something different, a different take. People want to hear truthful things. They see stuff on the mainstream and they look at their lives and it doesn't match. It doesn't match for a lot of people. We've got a big scandal going on right now in the BBC or whatever. And you know what? It's been a while since I watched the BBC because they've just been proved to be, anyway, so utterly not what they should be. Let's put it that way. And there's some scandal at the moment. And I'm only half interested in it because I, like I suspect, like many other people, have moved on. It's almost like so much of what is happening in the mainstream is almost not even relevant. It might be relevant to certain specific things. And yes, the Trump bandwagon and all that kind of stuff is kind of going on. But certain bigger questions are not being asked. And people sense that and they understand that. And that's why they're looking for alternatives. That's why they can ask questions, say like on my channel or other people's channels, and we can go in with our tools and talents and skills to try and give some insight into pressing things. And you're never getting that now in terms of the mainstream media, or you're getting one type of narrative and that's it. And I think this is part of this big recalibration, reassessment. It's not just going to be ordinary people. I think there's also going to be elements of people within the media themselves are going to be like, you know what? We're going to have to change these stories. We're going to have to change. because they are starting to become irrelevant. You've got independent channels now that are getting more views than mainstream media, in the millions, yeah. Where certain channel, and we've seen as well. I mean, if we just say, let's just say, the CNN debacle, yeah. My goodness, yeah, that was we all know what that was, a shameless kind of grab, lurch to the right to literally try and take a basket full of Trump voters, as if they give a damn about CNN anyway. That's the last place that they would want to go. And just the shameless nakedness of it, the sheer vulgarity of it, which disgusted everyone pretty much. And of course, everyone had an absolute field day just ripping them to shreds. And I don't think their numbers have recovered since. A lot of people are just like, I'm done, yeah? Because people don't want that. We all want the truth to a greater or lesser extent. As much as human beings, we are able to delude ourselves. Everyone senses something is not right. My life and what is being depicted on the news doesn't match. So people need to look for alternatives. And I think we've turned a kind of a corner. And I think there is fear in the establishment, and I think that's why there's a lot of regulations coming out in regards to the internet and all that kind of stuff, in the guise of keeping us all safe and all this doodahs and whatnot. You can have your own opinions on that, but I always say just look at what actually happens, what is actually said, and what's said and what is actually done. And when we look at things like that, then a lot of stuff starts to kind of make a lot more sense. So I feel like these retrograde planets are a big opportunity for all of us to revise, review, reassess, not just little things, but everything. Question everything. Honestly, question everything. I'm a pretty broad-minded person as it is already, and even just with time and just what I've seen with the transits and going over the planetary meanings and stuff, I've even had to reassess quite a few things as well. I'm already open to a lot of stuff, and now I'm actually starting to think, wow, because there were certain things that were dismissed not so long ago as tinfoil hat kind of stuff. We all know the insults that were used to besmirch people. Let's pretend that didn't happen either. There was a lot of insulting stuff that happened to a lot of people, and a lot of that has been vindicated and proven. And there actually should be apologies for that as well. There also needs to be apologies as well, I think, to people that were made to lose careers and reputations and livelihoods, people that were slandered. I'm not saying that there weren't any lies or whatever. Obviously, there's always conspiracy theories out there. But there are a lot of people whose lives were curtailed or trashed. Yeah? Trashed. Absolutely trashed. We're talking about seriously qualified people as well. Seriously qualified people. And there's a lot now that is out there if a person is prepared to look, where those insults were not valid, yeah, and there was quite a bit of jingoism with it as well. And I think a lot of people are starting to observe phenomena in their own lives, their own lived experience, not only of them but their friends and family, with a lot of stuff that's happening that I can't even say on here because that is such the stricture these days. But it's making a lot of people think, and it's making a lot of people question the narrative. And I think that's only going to develop and go further. And in September, there's going to be lots of things being reassessed, revised. I think it's going to be a very dynamic second half of the year. And then, of course, we have the eclipses in October as well. Can you imagine that? I think 14th of October and 28th of October, something like that, there or thereabouts. I'll do videos closer. So there's lots of change, folks, lots of change. And what I'll do in the link below, or maybe at the end, credits or whatever, I'm going to put that documentary that I mentioned about Noam Chomsky and stuff like that. And it talks about the middle class in America, etc. Brilliant documentary. Deserves millions of views, and it's not had millions of views. It really should. And it's just over an hour or so, but please watch that. Please watch that, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm an astrologer, and people can either believe it or not. Even though I've been very, very accurate, it's not the point. That's not necessarily everyone's type of thing. Please watch this and it talks about everything. Yeah, really talks about everything, and certain structures and stuff like that I can't go into on my channel because such are constraints, and everyone thinks we're all here just shooting from the hip, being able to say what we want on YouTube, and it just really isn't the case. It really, really is not the case. One has to be very careful now because everything is automated. Yeah, just saying. Yeah. So I will leave it. I think I will leave it there. But before I leave it there, there is hope. There is always hope. But it's about raising our consciousness. It's about seeing through the veils. It's about being able to identify the illusions and sort fact from fiction, but from your own compass and those of others that you trust. Because that's the only way really to get to these things now. Particularly as well with the powers of Neptune being so much more augmented. Remember I said there'll be going to be issues with deep fake and all that kind of stuff and what have you. And Neptune is allowing me to talk about those things, but also as well, Neptune is incredible spirituality as well. There's a lot of telepathies increasing, things with animals, being able to speak to animals and stuff. I see it even with my own clients, honestly. There's about 4 of them now, at least 4, that can literally do that telepathy thing and just find out, you know, what's going on. It's astonishing. So there are remarkable things happening as well, but it is a time, folks, not necessarily speaking to all of you because you guys are much more likely to reflect anyway, but you know what I mean. There's still a lot of people out there who are under the umbrella of certain illusions, and it's just not the case anymore. And as 2023 progresses, and particularly as we go into 2024, and I've said before, by 2025 certain things won't even be a debate. Yeah, you'd have to be the dullest of rocks. Yeah, that's what I wrote in the book. I said only the dullest of rocks won't be able to understand, you know, particularly regards to stuff like Brexit and stuff like that and other issues. But I will leave it there. Now I know that was just a bit of a, just to culminate to, in terms of talking about those energies. Yes, there's astrology there, but I'm talking about society, and I'm talking about the world, and about how everything is in a state of flux and is changing. So we just have to adapt. We have to go along with, not with everything, but let's say we need to adapt. Yeah, it's going to be a combination of adaptation and resistance and adaptation. Yeah, where needs be. I will leave it there. I hope you found that video interesting, And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe if you found that informative. And I'll see everyone on Hogili, of course, on Saturday. But I just want you to ponder and just observe, notice, yeah, how things are changing, how narratives are changing, and how that might be making you feel, yeah, about things, particularly over the last 3 years or so. So let me know in your comments what you think about what I've broached. Slightly somber, of course, but it's just the time has come. Yeah, the time has come, and I always follow. Remember, I always follow the planets. I always talk about what the planets are doing, because that really, those are the ones that, you know, that I trust anyway. Yeah, because it always comes true. Always comes true. Anyway, I really will leave it there. Thank you everyone for all the support of the channel, and I will see you all on Saturday for the next Hogili. All right, big love, and see you soon. Bye for now.